Hello and welcome back to this channel. This is Reality Check. If you're new here, consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what we're talking about today. My name is Rachel Mwide. I'm going to be your host, and I'm joined by none other than our tried and tested mental health expert and advocate, Doctor Evas. She's also the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. Welcome, Evas.
Thank you so much.
How have you been?
I've been good.
Yeah?
Good.
So I said how you are the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care, and I'm sure there might be one or two people who are wondering what happens there.
Okay.
So tell us about
Okay, so ICFC, or International Center for Mental Health and Family Care, is a family-focused organization, but also with a major focus on mental health.
Got it.
And we do a number of things. Number one, we run programs on mental health aimed at helping people manage day-to-day stresses. Yeah. And then, of course, we run programs on family. We do counseling, one-on-one counseling, but we also do family counseling. We do couple counseling. We have child psychologists who counsel children and teenagers. Wow. And I'm sure we'll have conversations around teenagers and parenting, and then of course we also run workplace mental health programs supporting the workforce. Helping them to be productive and to manage stresses both at work but also in their private lives.
Yeah. That's actually, I quite like the work that you're doing there because you've talked about a lot of the stresses that your average adult, even children, are going to go through, and those stresses are going to come from work.
Sure.
They're going to come from relationships. Yeah. They're going to come from family. Sure. And so if those areas are not managed properly, then you have an individual who is, on a downhill slope to something nasty.
To dysfunctionality.
To dysfunctionality, yes. Yeah. So there you have it. ICFC is in Ntinda.
It's in Ntinda.
Yes, and we're going to leave the contacts in the description box so you can reach out if you think maybe your child, your teenager might need some counseling, or even at your workplace, maybe you're going through, you've had a traumatic experience that you think you need professional help. Evas has a team of people and herself who are willing to help.
And we have a special focus on marriage.
Yes. A special focus on marriage and family.
Marriage and family.
Yeah. That's very, very key. Speaking of marriage, our conversation today is hinged on faithfulness in marriage. Sure. That's not something that is talked about often. We usually talk about the symptoms, people separating and people divorcing, men cheating and, the women being let off the hook. There are so many assumptions.
Sure.
But as a starting point, I wanted you to paint a picture of what we are hearing and seeing. Just, sort of set the stage for our conversation today. What are we hearing and seeing more of today where faithfulness is concerned in marriages?
Okay, so what are we hearing today? First of all, we're hearing a lot of conversation around men cheating. Men cheat. Unfaithfulness, men are unfaithfulness, men are unfaithful. Men are unfaithful.
Yeah.
And little conversation around women being unfaithful, but also a lot of advice about unfaithfulness or something. It feels like it's not achievable.
Yes.
So whatever is going around, I think we are coming from a place of fatigue and helplessness and hopelessness, and we've settled in this place where we think it's unachievable. And so if this person, especially if men cheat, please leave them alone. Leave them alone. We are
just
created.
Let them be.
We are human beings. That's how we are.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of conversation around that. But again, I will also tell you that from my experience as a therapist, a marriage therapist specifically, out of every 10 couples we counsel, 8 are struggling with, they
Unfaithfulness.
come with challenges related to unfaithfulness. So
Yeah.
it's a big thing.
Yeah.
I was also intrigued. I looked at statistics from the family unit, police, and judiciary. Statistics are showing that 70% of the couples that are divorcing, it is due to unfaithfulness. So it's a big thing. It's really a big thing. And of course, we see all this. We see lots of conversations on social media, some people in papers. And so it's a big thing. It's a big thing in marriage.
Yeah, so Evas, that's quite interesting. Very staggering statistics. I think for me, the thing that knocks the wind out of my sails is the fact that, you know, unfaithfulness is becoming normal. So it's being normalized right before our eyes. And it's like you said, we are helpless. There's almost nothing we can do about it. The messages that are being peddled, whether it's by leaders or community leaders or people that we know, almost reinforcing unfaithfulness. So we are not managing unfaithfulness, we're just talking about the symptoms. But I think for me, the thing that scares me is it's becoming normal, or it has become normal, you know, and like you rightly put it, we are being told, leave the men, that's how they are, you know, they must explore, and it's okay for them to do it. When they do it, then just accept, you know. And we're not saying come guns blazing, we're saying something is wrong here, and I think it needs to be fixed. Let's talk a bit about these symptoms, you know, the things that people are constantly talking about. For example, stop checking a man's phone, you know. Is that really the problem? You know, is us checking our men's phones the problem? I think not, and I want you to speak to that. But also, as you speak about that, the assumptions about unfaithfulness in marriage that we interact with, or that I would like for us to demystify.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start from what you mentioned, the normalizing certain situations, but also the advice being given. You talked about community leaders. I've attended a church wedding where a priest preaches the same message. You girl, don't check your husband's phone. And I thought, if this came from the bar or casual talks,
you'd say
it's acceptable, but not from a place of authority where faithfulness in marriage is supposed to be preached. Now, so let me first take it back to where we're coming from. Marriage relationships are very, very, very key.
Yes.
This is not just some casual relationship. If I may speak as a mental health specialist, research is putting it at 80%, the amount of happiness, joy, success we can get from running a healthy marriage relationship. So this relationship has potential to give us so much happiness, so much joy, so much health.
Yes,
productivity,
so
productivity, functionality, because that's where the highest amount of emotional investment is put.
That makes sense.
Right? And so this is not some casual relationship. This is a very, very essential. Do you remember essential workers during COVID lockdown?
Yes.
So it's considered a core or essential relationship. So this is not some...
It's not a game.
It's not a game. It's an important relationship. That's number one. Number two, there are certain principles that govern a healthy relationship.
Got it.
Right?
Yes.
Now, a marriage relationship, just imagine if you are dating someone and they tell you, I'm going to be unfaithful, would you continue?
Of course not.
Okay. So there are certain expectations in this relationship, and the key is that someone can be trusted.
Correct.
To be faithful.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you one thing, there's no person in this world, even the most unfaithful, that wants to share a partner.
Is that so?
No one. No one.
Yeah.
You see? Even the most adulterous person doesn't want their partner.
They want exclusivity.
They want exclusivity.
Interesting.
You see? Yeah. So that is a big expectation, faithfulness.
Yeah.
Now, this is a principle that applies in all partnerships, even business.
Business, yes, yes.
Business. When we are partnering with someone, when we're looking for a business partner, even when we don't say, we are saying, I hope I can trust you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so coming back to the messages that are going around and saying, oh, you know, this person can just do anything, don't just leave them. What are we saying?
Yes, what exactly
are we saying? Right? Are we saying the principles have changed?
Yeah.
Are we saying the dynamics have changed and so people can just do anything
what they want
and then still be happy? Now, I will tell you what. Every person getting into marriage is looking for happiness.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why I do premarital counseling, and people are so happy. You know, they've gotten someone and they're happy.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I can't wait for us to share our lives together and to live together forever.
Yes.
You see, so there are certain expectations there. And if this person said, by the way, I'm going to cheat, I'm going to... You wouldn't marry them.
Absolutely not.
So where is this message coming from? That be unfaithful and it's okay. So that's number one. Number two, you talked about the messages, don't check your phone.
Don't check the man's phone, yes.
That is very unfortunate. So it's just one of those skewed messages or skewed perspectives we are selling to families. Skewed, unfortunate, unworkable prescriptions we're giving to people.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, how many of us would go to hospital, they give you this prescription, and they say, it won't work.
But you take it.
But just take it, go and take it. So I really liken this message, like don't check a man's phone or don't check, to that.
Yeah.
It's a prescription that doesn't work, and we know it doesn't work. So, but before I focus on that, let me tell you the dangers or the dangerous assumptions on which that message is premised.
And
I'm speaking as a marriage therapist, as a mental health person. Number one, it assumes that it's only women who check men's phones.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
You see, checking a person's phone, unfortunately we're discussing phone because I keep saying the phone is not the problem. It's not the problem. So we're talking about behavior. We're talking about insecurity.
Correct.
We're talking about suspicion.
Suspicion, yes.
And unfortunately, we don't have so many testimonies in this area, but a person who has experienced this will tell you by the time their partner complained, there is something happening.
For sure.
Because you've lived with them, you're one. There's oneness in marriage, and as long as you're one, something can't happen to your partner and then you don't know.
No.
You're going to sense it.
Yeah.
So I was saying that assumption that it's only women who check the phone is wrong.
Wow.
Any partner who is suspicious, who is insecure, is going to try
and find out
and confirm their fears.
Yes. And you know, sorry to cut you short, it's not just the phones. You know, there are people who hire private investigators.
Oh, they do.
Yes.
They
who
do.
will go to, say, UCC or, you know, these telecoms and ask for a record.
They do that.
Just so that they can,
places.
yes, back-end places.
There are those who are hiring borders to run.
Oh, to follow their people, yes.
So let's not make this casual.
Yeah.
It's not a phone. And I pray that no one gives this advice. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
So that's number one. Any partner, and I've met both men and women who are checking. They're trying to say, is
it true?
Is it true this person is unfaithful to me?
Yeah.
So that message. Second assumption is that we are assuming that men are inherently unfaithful, and they are the only ones who are unfaithful. That's not true.
Yep.
That is not true. Both men and women are unfaithful. I mean, we've been having conversations about DNA testing. So what's happening there?
Yes. A fruit of unfaithfulness.
A fruit of unfaithfulness.
Yes. Yeah.
You see? And I'm glad these conversations are happening because we've put our heads in the sand and assume, I hope this is not.
Yeah.
That's not true. Both men and women are unfaithful. And the message to men that, oh, let men be. Just let your husbands be. What does it even mean?
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
So are we saying men are inherently reckless? They can't be, they
can't be controlled. They can't control
they
themselves.
Can't control themselves. Don't worry about controlling them. They can't control themselves.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's very dangerous. And remember, we are preparing people to get into marriage. Now, which person are you giving to this man? You're saying, oh, this person is just going to be reckless. They will not control themselves. They just have as many, and just be
Allow
there.
them be.
What are you saying? So this is absolutely dangerous. There is another dangerous assumption we are making, that if the messages or whatever is in the phone is not found out, then this is going to be a happy marriage. That's not true. That's not true.
Leave it hidden, leave it buried.
It doesn't make sense. And so that's why I give advice and say, please, as much as possible, make sure you don't live with an insecure partner.
Yeah.
If your partner is insecure, do everything possible you can do. They could be having chronic paranoia or whatever,
possible.
but just help them to get out of this. Give them the assurance that you're okay. Let's do everything we can to have happy marriages.
Yes.
And you can't have a happy marriage just by hiding things and putting all the passwords on contact, password on,
On WhatsApp.
on WhatsApp, passwords on calls.
Yeah.
You can't. That's not how we have happy marriages. Just tell yourself, this, I've committed. By the way, faithfulness is a sign of commitment.
Yes.
Which is the foundation
Marriage. Yes. Yes.
Right? Faithfulness is a sign of responsibility. You are a responsible person.
Yeah.
And you can be trusted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now that's a good character trait, or these are good character traits.
Mm.
Faithfulness is a sign of maturity, that you're able to define boundaries. Right?
Yes.
Boundaries in life are important.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, there's certain things I won't do because I'm married.
Yes.
Right? There are certain messages I can't take because I'm married. There are certain conversations I can't engage in because I'm married.
Yeah.
And that's not a deprivation.
No.
It's not. I'm not being deprived of all those casual conversations. No. Because that's why the Bible says, when I was young, I behaved like
a
young person.
Yeah.
But now when
when
I'm old, I have to do things for mature people.
Yes.
So faithfulness is a sign that someone is mature and they are able to put boundaries and manage them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They are able to go with their ring and say, I am married.
I'm married.
I know people who hide rings, they remove and they say, now it's very unfortunate. So faithfulness is not just a phone issue.
No.
It's not a phone
it's
issue.
not.
No. Leave the phones alone. These gadgets are there. They require discipline. Faithfulness is a sign that you are a disciplined person.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That you're able to determine, this is wrong, I will not do it.
Yes.
This is right, I'm going to do it.
Mm.
But also, there is another dangerous assumption with these messages, that family can just be managed casually. You know, it's casual. It's all casual.
I can do what I want.
Just do what you want, but you'll still have a good family. You cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Yeah.
You see,
you're sowing a seed.
you're sowing a seed.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of which, I'll tell you, Rachel, that when children are involved, it's terrible.
We've seen
So
it,
you cannot be a person just doing anything you want, and you have children in the picture. That's why we are struggling with deprived children.
Yep.
Children who are deprived of parental care. So you can't run multiple relationships. And then you're still a good parent. It's very, you must be an expert in this.
Yes.
And so I'm saying all this so that we know that it's unhealthy to just give this casual message of, don't check.
Yes. Let the man be.
Let just the man be.
Let the man be. Yeah, no, that's it's definitely damaging advice.
It's very damaging. It's
damaging
horrible
advice.
prescription.
Do you think, Evas, it's possible that so right from the beginning, before we get into marriage, we first of all, we don't understand the commitment that comes with marriage. But I feel like in marriages today, there's a lot of individualism. That yes, I've come, I want the perks of marriage, I want the benefits of marriage, but I also want to be left alone to do what I want. And I think that that's a dangerous approach to marriage. Yes, you are an individual marrying somebody else, but ultimately you have come together to create a unit, a family. Is it possible that maybe we are not quite understanding the commitment that is involved in marriage?
Yes. Yeah, I'll tell you, that's right. Absolutely, because you've heard the concept we talk about married, single married.
Yes.
Single married.
Yes. You're
so,
in there, but you're
living single.
Yeah.
You're living single. First of all, I'll tell you what, the whole marriage thing, we get in, but we don't, we are very unready most of the time for the kind of responsibility it's asking for. That's why I think I've ever listened to a conversation where someone is saying, that prison.
Yes, marriage has been known to be a prison.
A prison.
Yeah.
So if your perception of marriage is, if your attitude towards marriage is it's a prison. And I've also seen messages run on WhatsApp, God bless WhatsApp, where someone is saying wives are a headache.
Yes,
husbands,
that's common.
You understand?
That's common.
So all those negative perceptions that we carry into marriage. By the way, this brain, don't joke with it.
Yes.
Whatever you're putting in there, the way your brain is programmed is going to determine your behavior.
For sure.
So if you perceive men to be wicked and horrible, that's what you're going to see. If you perceive wives to be a headache and all, that's what you're going to be. But coming back to your question, is that we get into marriage, we love it, we love the sex, we love the some of the other things, but we are not ready to manage this institution.
Yeah.
This is a big thing.
It's huge. Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge. Secondly, I talked about the issue of partnership. So let me use an analogy from a partnership. You know, people who are in businesses where it's a partnership, it's not sole proprietorship or whatever.
Yes.
So it's a partnership. You have other people in. There are certain things you can't do. Right? You can't just get a checkbook, sign a check, go to the bank. That's why there are all these restrictions. If it's a partnership, you have to have 2 signatories, they have to sign here, you have to, you see, so it's a partnership. And I made a statement the other time, let me make it again. Until we view marriage as a partnership, we headed nowhere.
Yes.
This is a partnership. Now, in partnership, our behavior is managed by the principles that govern partnership.
Correct.
So you can't get into marriage and then you're single. You want to go home anytime you want. You want to relate with as many people as you want.
With
you
no
want to
rules or
have as many as casual conversations as you want. Like everything is single except the fact that you sleep with someone in bed. In the same bed. And so that's not what it is. So yes, we are not ready for the kind of responsibility
that
comes with marriage institution. This relationship is, you can't be married and single at the same time. No.
It's not,
and unfortunately, when we get married and behave single, those are the challenges we are having.
Yeah. Let's speak about, because you know we can talk about unfaithfulness the entire day, and those conversations are already happening on WhatsApp anyway. How can we cultivate faithfulness in our marriages? I think let's start there, and then later I would want you to speak to people who are noticing unfaithfulness in their marriage. But first, how do we cultivate faithfulness in a marriage? What would that look like for somebody who is planning to get married, or for a couple who maybe they don't think they need to do anything? They think it's automatic, that when I get married, everyone is going to be faithful. You know, I'm going to do my part, he'll do his part. How do we cultivate faithfulness in a marriage?
First of all, as a psychologist, I'll tell you that behavior is informed by knowledge.
Correct.
Now, we have to first of all understand the benefit of being faithful in marriage.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, again, I told you that our behavior is informed by mental programming.
Yeah.
So what is in your head as the benefit of faithfulness, right?
Yeah.
Now, so understanding that faithfulness in marriage is for your benefit. It's very good for your mental health. Right?
Yes.
Because when you are unfaithful, you're going to invest a lot of emotional energy to sustain that behavior.
Yes.
It's very dangerous.
Yes.
Any behavior that we engage in as individuals and we don't want people to know, that's a recipe for stress.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't realize it.
They
They think
don't
they're
realize.
having a good time and distressing, and yet they are creating more opportunities for
Exactly.
stress. Yeah.
Now, that's why I tell people that when you're faithful, it's to your benefit. But also, when you cheat, you're not cheating on your partner, you're actually cheating on yourself.
On yourself. Wow.
Do you know how much stress and anxiety that you have to nurse to maintain unfaithfulness? It's too much.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Every password that you
Yes.
put there is a stress trigger.
Yeah.
It's stress.
Yeah.
Every time you're with your partner and you don't want them to know that, it's horrible behavior.
Yeah.
And it affects the beholder. Right?
Yeah.
So people have to first of all understand the benefit of being faithful in marriage. Of course, several other benefits. It's very important for your marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It helps to nurture a relationship
With your partner.
with your partner.
Yeah.
Because every time you see a weakness or whatever, then you think about looking for an alternative. You're misdirecting resources. That energy should be put into improving your relationship. Very important.
Yeah.
Faithfulness in marriage is very important for the health of children.
Correct. Yes. And that's important.
Very important for the health of children. Because every time a couple is struggling over unfaithfulness, number one, they lose focus. They go back to themselves and they deprive children of care. And so there is so much confusion, but also the spiritual aspects.
Yeah.
The spiritual, you're sowing a seed.
Yep.
This is a dangerous seed that you're putting in, right?
Yeah.
And so if you asked, how can people, number one is for you to understand that when God said, be faithful in marriage, he meant it, he knew that it had benefits to us. And he knew that it has, the consequences are dire.
Yeah.
They are dire. You don't want to see someone who has just noticed or discovered that the extramarital relationships they were running weren't necessarily helpful. Right?
They didn't solve the problem.
They didn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
So that's number two, is to understand that it's a temptation. It's a temptation.
Which you have the power to overcome.
Which you have the power to overcome.
Yeah.
Now, temptations by their nature don't usually give us much.
No, they don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tell people that the negatives to unfaithfulness are way more than
the
any
benefits.
benefit you thought you had.
Yes.
You lose health, you lose a relationship, you lose opportunities, you lose trust. Some people have gotten into what we call reputational carnage. Some people are stuck in these relationships because if they now leave, how are they going to manage this? The reputational carnage. The loss of respect among children, among your children.
Yes.
Some people can't be respected, but they see what you're doing. I remember years back, I was talking to a young boy, and he had come to me. The mother had sent him to me, and he was struggling with sexuality related aspects. He was 15. So I'm talking to him and I'm saying, who talks to you about these issues, which information do you have and all that. And I asked him, I said, who talks to you? And he said, at school, they talk about it at school. You know, we have our chaplain and all. And then I said, how about home? He said, yeah, mommy talks about it. She's always screaming and all that. And then I said, how about daddy? And the boy said, daddy also needs help. He's another lost adult teenager. Do you see that?
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And children are seeing.
They're watching. Yeah.
And the fact that a parent engaged in this loses the moral authority to guide their children.
Wow.
So there are lots of losses related to this behavior that we can't just say, oh, it's a casual thing. That's why I always tell people, yes, we always are tempted to go into extramarital relationships, thinking we are topping up our relationships. But in actual fact, we are making losses. And so I always say, not every extra is an addition.
Some are subtraction.
There's so much subtraction.
Wow.
There's so much loss.
Yeah.
There's so much loss.
Yeah.
And sometimes people have seen it, but they don't know how to get out of it. So they are stuck, right?
Yeah.
That's why the message we give should not be, oh, just leave someone.
him.
Oh.
No.
And honestly, if you wish, I'll just give advice at this point and say, if you are experiencing that, please reach out.
Reach out for help.
Reach out for help. That's why therapists like us have been trained to support you.
Yeah.
Because the more you continue, the more you're on a downward trend.
For sure. For sure.
And the architect of this behavior is looking to see how
far
you can go.
Yeah. Oh, and he wants to destroy
you. And he wants to destroy you. He wants to destroy you.
Yes.
He wants to destroy your marriage. He wants to destroy your family.
Yeah.
He wants to destroy your children.
For sure. For sure. And I know that many people will justify unfaithfulness, maybe possibly because of the things that are going on in their marriages. And they'll say things like, you know, God doesn't want me to suffer. But the Bible says God doesn't tempt us. It's the enemy that does. And when he does, his desire is for you to be destroyed eventually, because that's his entire agenda. Sure. And so if this temptation looks good, and I think that's another thing, temptation will always look good. Yeah. It will always look attractive. It will always look better than what you have. Yeah. But in the end, it leads to distraction. Yeah. And so I think at this point, there might be someone watching who is going through a season of unfaithfulness in their marriage, whether they are the victim or the perpetrator. And I want you to speak to both. How can they, number one, find help? Is it possible? And I think this is a question that a lot of people ask. Is it possible to recover from unfaithfulness? Because for many people, it's a deal breaker. I say, if my person ever cheats on me, if they are ever unfaithful, that's it. I'm packing my bags and I'm leaving. Is it possible to recover from unfaithfulness, and maybe to speak to someone who might be going through that scenario?
Absolutely, yes. It's very possible to recover from every challenge in marriage.
Yeah.
It's very possible to recover from every challenge in life.
Yeah.
You know, so it is absolutely possible. But I'll also mention that it's very hard to recover on your own.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I want to once again advise that if you're experiencing that, first of all, know that it's possible to recover, and it's very possible to have a great relationship after.
That. Oh,
after.
It's tough, but yeah.
It's tough, but it's after. That's why God gave us the grace.
Yeah.
That's why there is forgiveness. God gave us all these tools to help us because he knew that we would fall.
Yeah.
And so, number one, admission of sin.
Yes.
Not justification.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
Can you give us an example? You know, like, so if somebody says, I cheated because, you know, my wife was nagging me, or my husband was, I don't know, not providing or whatever, what would the difference be between admission and justification?
Okay, so let me first speak to that. So there's a difference between a reason and an excuse.
Yes.
And when you check, most of the time, it's an excuse.
Excuses, yes.
Are there problems in marriage? Absolutely. Do we solve problems by creating more problems? No.
No.
You see? So we need that wisdom to know that once you have a problem, solve it. But for you, creating another relationship doesn't solve it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you want to solve and you're saying this marriage cannot work, then be it. But you cannot go to start another relationship to solve. Most of the time, it's actually it's an issue of selfishness. Right? So if every person who experiences challenges or discomfort or whatever in marriage is going to look for another partner, that doesn't sound like a mature way of dealing with issues.
Yeah.
So be very careful. Number two, you mentioned something. Do I have to suffer forever? What do you mean suffering?
Yeah.
Because marriage relationships are not easy.
No,
This is
they're
not
not.
just a walk in the park or a cup of coffee. No, relationships by their nature are hard.
Hard, yeah.
And so whenever I'm doing premarital counseling, I tell people, the thing you're getting in is hard, but it's worth the investment.
Yes.
And everything we experience in marriage is solvable. But just be very careful that you don't solve a problem by
With
creating
another
10
problem.
more.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so going back to what you asked, what a person experiencing it, what can they do?
What can they do?
Can they get, so admission of sin. Now, when we are admitting, when we are confessing, I tell people that a genuine sorry, a genuine apology is never followed by a but.
I'm sorry, but.
I'm sorry, but you also know what you
Yeah,
did.
you also know.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know that I went there because that's not a genuine one.
Yeah.
When we confess a mistake, we are saying this is a mistake.
Correct.
And by the way, there is a psychological aspect to it. Every time you admit a mistake halfway, you're likely to repeat it.
Okay, because you've justified why you
Because
did it.
the brain is still holding on to it.
Got it.
And every time you want to do it, it's going to give you what we
reason.
call a mental green light. Yeah, you can continue because, you know, because there is that. But if I say, this is ugly, what I engaged in is so bad, I regret it, it's terrible, I acknowledge how I've hurt you, and I've hurt myself, I've hurt our children, and I will not do it again.
Yeah.
You're making a mental commitment. You're programming your mind to always remind you this is wrong. And every time you're going to engage in it, you're going to get this, there's going to be this red
light.
Red light, and it's going to say, but you said it's horrible, you regret it. And then that's where conviction comes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But if you're saying, I'm sorry, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, avoiding blaming someone. Maybe I've already said it.
Yeah.
Don't say. Don't say. And we see this in the Bible.
With Adam and Eve as
with
well.
Adam and Eve.
Yes.
It's because the other
woman
person,
you gave me. Yeah.
the woman you gave me, it's you. And I really want to speak to people watching this, that don't create excuses to justify adultery. If you have a challenge in marriage, deal with it. Because that adultery, that extra relationship is going to take away from you. It doesn't top up your relationship. It just takes away.
Correct.
So you would rather build. That's why marriage is a building project. So as much as possible, if your partner has a challenge, focus on that. Focus on that. There's nothing insurmountable in marriage. So that a genuine apology softens the heart. Right?
Yes.
And then, of course, rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust. Because broken trust, we don't have experts in betrayal management. No. There's broken trust. And trust is a pillar that holds this relation. We all get married because we trust a person. Once it is broken, it has to be rebuilt. And once you focus on rebuilding it, number one, by admission, number two, by not blaming, number three, by acknowledging something that it's sin and it's bad, but most importantly, change in behavior.
Yes.
Right? Change in behavior. If you've been doing this, doing that, you've stopped. And you're assuring your partner that you are committed. So once that happens, people heal. They heal. And they have amazing relationships. They've overcome this. When you check, it doesn't have to be a deal breaker.
No, it doesn't. There's something you talked about as we were getting ready for this conversation regarding relational science and how people are typically unhappy, or rather happy, for maybe a period of 2 months when they decide to have an affair. And the feeling of being stuck, because you know, we mostly focus on the victim, but the perpetrator is feeling stuck too.
Oh yeah, they do.
Please share a bit about that as we wrap up.
Oh, okay. So the result of it's also another assumption that the person engaged in those relationships is happy.
Is okay, yes, and they're
not
enjoying
happy.
themselves.
They're not happy. So first of all, you have to know that this relationship is hinged on emotions. There's very little logic. Right? That's why people get stuck. So you meet someone at work, you're very happy you're meeting at work, and you're excited, and you're sharing, and then boom, you're into deeper intimacy, but then you're not leaving your marriage.
No.
Sometimes
you're still going back to
sometimes we are with another married person. You see? So you see two married people. And we say having fun. They are not having fun. So anything that is empowered by emotions have no future.
No, they don't.
They don't.
And they waver.
They waver. So you're here, you're so excited about this relationship, but the following day, you're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? So logic always comes in, and people get stuck. Now, relational science actually tells us that any person engaged in an extramarital relationship, if they are to experience this happiness and joy, it's likely to last only 2 months.
Imagine that.
Beyond that, they have come
back to their senses.
And they are seeing reality, and from that point they are moving from a standpoint of being stuck. Right? Either they are stuck out of shame. They're like, how do I go back? They are looking ugly before two people. They are now looking at this, and the person is saying, man up, like, oh, you know, what are you saying? I've dealt with cases where someone is saying, what do we do now? What do we do now? And they are stuck. They are stuck. So apparently, actually, relational science indicates that if an extramarital relationship with one person lasts more than a year, more than 90%, the person in it is stuck, or both of them are stuck.
Wow.
It's not like they are having fun. They are still maintaining this.
They
are looking for a way out. They are fearing reputational carnage. They are worried. They are regretting, but they don't know how to move forward. Sometimes they are doing a bit of dramatic things, but they are stuck. And so that's why I was saying that when we give a message of let people go away, don't check their phones, that's dangerous, because actually this person, we assume they are happy, but they are unhappy. They are dealing with lies. These are relationships powered by lies. Lies are not fun. It's a horrible negative emotion. You know, it affects our health. If you have to lie, tomorrow you maintain another lie, another lie you have. So someone is becoming a liar, and it's stressful. And so that's why I encourage, if you are experiencing this, it happens, but get out of it. And there is always a healthy way, a more empowering way to get out. Right? Then for the person, for the victim, again, seek help. Because the way you handle the whole situation also determines how both of you are likely to heal. And this is a very painful experience.
It is.
And if you have to invest all the pain, and every other day you're processing and recycling pain, it's likely to be counterproductive.
And will cause you even more stress.
It causes pain. That's why we have what we call what is it called? It's called forgotten it. Broken heart syndrome. broken heart syndrome. So if you process pain, process heartache, you're going to get into a state we call broken heart syndrome.
Yeah.
Broken heart syndrome, it has the same symptoms as heart attack. Right? So that's why there's so much depression, so much heartache, so much, anxiety. And so it's not healthy. So it's important that they seek help from a professional therapist, and then they can be helped to navigate the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this all day, and we can't exhaust this conversation. We thought that maybe just putting some thoughts out there for you to think about would be very important. And I think this has been helpful for me. I think my key takeaway is really just find help. If you are going through something similar, find help. ICFC is here for you. You can reach out. The contacts are going to be in the description box. And leave us a comment. What are your thoughts on this entire conversation? The assumptions that have been shared, this whole notion of leaving men's phones or leaving people's phones alone. Let's talk in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, don't forget to share this episode with someone. Until next time, we'll be back with another riveting conversation right here on Reality Check.